All right. How's everybody today? We are going to be talking about, I don't know why that's there. We are going to be talking about boundaries. And one of the things is this kind of came up over the last kind of 48 hours with a few different members reaching out. And so I thought maybe it'd be a good time. We're coming up on the end of October. We've got another couple of months left of 2025. And if you haven't already started working on your 2026 marketing and business strategies, then now's a great time to start because we definitely want to be ahead of the curve and really prepared to kind of hit January 1 with both feet on the ground. And if not at a full run, definitely at a slow jog, right? We don't want to be caught standing still or flat-footed, as they say. So I thought today, talking about boundaries, being able to say no, understanding what it means to stay on brand when we are looking at, oh, there it is. See, I couldn't see it until now. There we go. All right. So what happens, I have two screens going on. Now that we're somewhat settled. So I want to be able to see if I can watch comments into the Facebook group while we're here. And being able to stay on brand isn't just about your marketing, where your colors, your messaging. It's not necessarily just about attracting the right client. Staying on brand is also being able to say, I have boundaries. I know I'm going to say yes to. I know what I'm going to say no to. And I know what I'm going to say not right now to. And being able to say no. And as women business owners, I don't know about you, but like I know with my kids and with family and friends, sometimes I get too caught up in the yes, I will do that. I want to be helpful. I want to be considered, looked upon as, being kind and nice and supportive. And that's great. But sometimes we have to be able to say no. And there's been times in my life where I've said no and people have gone like, what? What do you mean you say no? How do you get to say no to something? Right. And it was just because I wanted to reinforce my boundary and really kind of conserve my energy and my focus and knowing exactly where it is that I want to be and where I want to be going towards. So when we're thinking about this, then it's really about integrity, right? It's about knowing that we're not always going to people please, but we're not going to ghost people. We're not just going to ignore people, right? So we want to look at that formula of integrity plus empathy. And this is what happens. See, I moved my camera over. So now I'm looking at two different places. So I'm going to try and make sure I focus on the camera so I can see you guys while watching comments. But what does having boundaries and etiquette, that integrity and empathy, what does that actually look like? Because we know a boundary is about where I end and you start. It's about being clear, making sure that we are doing what is in our best interest while still maintaining a sense of worth and being of servant leadership, being giving of ourselves, right? There's that fine line. So the boundary really is what you will and won't do. Where the etiquette piece is how are you going to communicate that? How are you going to share that no, we're not right now, and allow people to feel respected, to feel heard, to feel like, yeah, it's okay that she said no. Like, I don't feel slighted. I don't feel taken aback. I don't feel, ugh, right? Because when we get rejected, right, when somebody says no, we kind of take that energy on going, oh, they didn't want to do that for me. or they didn't want to do that with me or for me, et cetera, right? So we want to make sure that as we're reinforcing that boundary, that we're allowing them to feel still good about even raising their hand to ask, because that took courage, right? We want to acknowledge that element of what they're trying to do. So what we want to remember are 3 quick principles when we're thinking about how we're communicating. Clear or clarity in how we're communicating is way better than trying to be clever. Kind is better than being nice, right? And it's one of the things that I've always, taught my kids is kindness matters. If you can do nothing else but be kind, be kind. And the same goes for business. That doesn't mean you're bending over backwards or giving up something, but you want to be kind. So kind is better than just being nice. And firm is way better than being vague, right? And that goes back to that first principle of clarity over cleverness. So in the chat, whether you're watching on Facebook or if you're joining us here in the Zoom, I would like to know, in one word, how do you want a no to feel in your business? So if you were to receive a no, how do you want to feel? How do you want it to feel for you? Right? I brushed my teeth and now you think I cut my gum. So how do you want that no to feel? I want you to think about that. And I want you to share it in the chat, right? In one word. How do you want that no to feel? Do you want it to feel empowering for you, for the receiver? Supportive? So I want you to think about that, right? So the other thing I want you to think about is, what's one boundary that you wish you had held that you didn't? I want you to think back in the last, say, 90 days, the last 3 months. What's one boundary you wish you had held that you didn't? Share that in the chat as well. Okay. So with that, I want to kind of go over this framework that's called C.L.E.A.R. And it's an acronym. And we're going to walk through it, and then we're going to walk through some examples and somewhat kind of walk through what it would look and sound like. So C.L.E.A.R, an acronym. C, clarify. Clarify the request and your stance in one sentence. So it sounds something like this. Thanks for reaching out about social media management for daily posts, right? You're clarifying the request and you're taking that stance in one sentence, right? So the L, listen and label. You want to label the other person's needs. You want to reflect it back to them. I hear that you want fast turnarounds and weekend support. So far, our C.L.E.A.R framework, right? When we want to decline or redirect or reset with somebody, we want to be clear, right? That was that first principle. So far it's sounding for clarifying listener labeling is, thanks for reaching out about social media management for daily posts. I hear that you want fast turnarounds and a weekend support. E, empathize, briefly without over-explaining, right? Again, you want to be clear, you want to be concise. You don't want to be vague, and you don't want it to kind of drone on. So that might sound like, that pace matters when you're launching, right? We're explaining it, but we're not over-explaining. A, assert. You want to assert your boundary or decision plainly. Again, this is about the clarity. You don't want to be vague. I don't offer weekend support or a 24-hour turnaround. R, redirect. You want to be constructive with the next step, right? You want to be able to have a resource or referral or a wait list or something to give them because you want to redirect them. I can refer to specialists who do, or we can explore a lighter package if that fits your response times. So the whole statement for that C.L.E.A.R framework, when we want to decline or redirect, will sound something like this. Thanks for reaching out about social media management for daily posts. I hear that you want fast turnarounds and weekend support. That pace matters when you're launching. I don't offer weekend support or 24-hour turnarounds. I can refer to specialists who do, or we can explore a lighter package if that fits response times. So in my coaching practice, I have a 911 system. Normally, my clients are booking weekly sessions and we have a reoccurring day and time. So that way we're consistent, right? But there's times where instances happen or a crisis might come up and they're feeling they need extra support from me personally one-on-one. And so it's a text message. Hey, Karen, I need extra support. This is what's going on. Kind of a 911 situation. This falls outside of my parameters of what I normally do in my coaching practice, but I make myself available. It's the 911 support is not included in the normal package in our ongoing sessions. So it's billed separately, but my clients are made aware of that. So I remind them, right? Hey, thanks for reaching out. I know you need support right now, and the 911 system is great for this situation. Within the next 4 hours, let's find a time that works, because that's my promise within the 911. Within 4 hours, we'll get on the phone, right? Time depending. If it's midnight, it may not happen, but we'll just see, right? So I understand it's really important that you get the support right now. Just a reminder, it's built in 6-minute increments with the minimum of 18 minutes. So if you're ready to go, what time works best for you? These times I have available, right? So I remind them, so I'm clear and I'm empathizing with them because it matters to them that they feel supported. But then they're empowered to make the decision, do they want to incur the added cost or not? Because if they don't, that's okay too. Because the way I look at it is a crisis, everybody has their own definition. And so I want to empower them to be able to say, is this really a crisis or not? Is this something that is so important that I really need her support right now? And trust me, clients use it. But not always. Sometimes they'll go, oh, it can wait till our next session, right? Once they have some time to think about it. Sometimes they reach out because they're in that fight or flight mode. So for you, when you want to be able to, decline or redirect, you want to be thinking about how it's going to be received, right? So you want to be kind, brief, and forward moving. So that's that empowering, right? Forward moving, you want to empower them. So if you are going to create, let's say, an experience or an example, there's a price or scope misalignment. The scenario might sound like your prospect wants all the things on a tiny budget. How many times does that expand for you guys? Or experience? I'm going to expand the comments to see if I can make sure I'm not missing anything. So I'm saying expand instead of experience, right? How many times have you heard that? They want all the things, but they want it on a really small budget. They don't want to invest the money, right? So the demo, right? An example of how to respond to something like that using that C.L.E.A.R framework, right? Where did I overexpend? What could be tighter? How are you going to respond where you're concise, but you're empathizing, showing that you're listening, you're still asserting that boundary, and you're still redirecting, right? You don't want to use the framework when you're using that C.L.E.A.R framework. You don't want to be saying, I can't. Because that really comes across as no, I can't, right? With I don't. It's less apologetic and it's more policy driven. Because even as small business owners, you want to have your policies laid out and lined up. So swapping that I can't with I don't allows you to feel empowered and for the receiver to be able to say, oh, this is part of her policy. Okay. So if a prospect is using tactics that you don't endorse, or they're pushing your boundaries, right? So this is a values-based decline where you're just kind of like, I just can't. Integrity, my dignity, like my self-respect, I just can't. So you need to decline. right? Because it's the values piece and it's for your own self-preservation, your energy. So you basically want to be looking at, you want to be, you know, you want to be able to name that moment of you asserted and you justified, right? Because when you do a values-based, decline or redirect, that's keeping your dignity intact as well as their own, right? So you want to make sure that you're also kind of going about being graceful. So the appreciation leads to policy, right? You want to keep reinforcing and coming back to that element of the C.L.E.A.R framework, right? So clarify, listen, right, Roxy, labeling, right? Empathizing. You want to be asserting your boundary and redirecting. Roxy's still getting used to the new location. You're good, girl. Lay down. Yes. So with that, right? So, and another example might be a past client coming back and asking just one quick thing for free, right? That's where you're like, yeah, you've given a lot. You've expended a lot of time and energy with this client already. And yes, they've already paid, but that was for that initial experience, for that initial product, etc. So unless there's a cancellation piece, there's a refund element to this, if it's just strictly them coming and asking for something for free, then it's showing that appreciation, reinforcing the policy, and then sending them towards that paid gateway, whether it be a product or another part of your service. So I'm putting together some scripts and templates. I'm going to put them into the library this afternoon. I'm working on the layout of them now for you guys. So if you want me to DM them to you, then just drop it in the comments. Make sure if you're watching the replay that you tag me so I know to send you the link. And so outside of that, I would love to have and hear any questions you guys might have. So I thought I might be able to do a poll. I'm going to see if I can pull it up because I created a poll. Oh, it did. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to put that in. And I think, all right. So it says I'm supposed to share it in my meeting. Go to the Zoom meeting, select share. I haven't done a poll before, so this is new. This is new. I'm trying to figure it out because I just added an easier, share. Aha. See? I'm learning something new. You guys are just coming along with me. There we go. All right, that's the poll. Okay, so that's the poll. That's pretty cool. Okay. All right, I just had to try that out, just so you guys know, because we're trying to like level up these lunch and learns every week. So a little bit more interactive, hands-on experience, things that you guys can kind of take away. All right. Let's see. Anything else that you guys want to go over? Shoot me a message, drop them in the comments. There is a thread inside the town square conference room for this training. You can drop them in there and I'll get you the links. Okay, so any other questions, comments? We're just getting back into these, so I know we're not having a lot of people show up for them, and that's okay. I'm going to still be consistent. So coming back in every week and doing a quick 20-30 minute training on a topic. Starting next week, we will be doing a training. We're really going to kind of push into that planning for social media content for 2026, the year end. We're coming up on the Thanksgiving holiday for the US. So Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday specials. If you haven't started thinking about those, we need to start thinking about those, and we'll cover that next Tuesday. We'll also be going over some steps you can do to start creating that, not just the business strategy, but the marketing strategy with goals and things like that. We're going to start doing that, and we'll build on it every week for you guys. So that way you start to have something tangible and you can start actually looking at implementing it. All right. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. And we will see you guys all next Tuesday. If you haven't already come in and joined the Women's Business Resource Community, I really encourage you to do that. The Neighbors, we have our bi-weekly coaching session this Thursday, 11 o'clock Eastern. The Zoom link is inside the events calendar over on getbizsavvy.com/events. You can join through there for those. Just make sure you're logged into your account, so then that way you can join us for that live coaching session. All right, remember that's bi-weekly. All right, looking forward to it. See you guys next Tuesday, and I appreciate you all. Thanks for being here.